Jonathan Lee Riches investigates. I am covering the Moscow, Idaho Bryan Kohberger case. James Patterson is writing a book about Bryan Kohberger and the Moscow murders. Yeah, James Patterson, the famous James Patterson, the James Patterson that has written over 200 books. The James Patterson who was the first author to get 1 million copies of ebooks. The James Patterson that sold over 425 million copies of his book. He's writing a book about Bryan Kohberger. I want to share this report that is out. Check it out.
James Patterson to write book about the University of Idaho murders, just months after killings. By Molly Bohannon. Topline. Best-selling novelist James Patterson and investigative journalist Vicky Ward will reportedly team up to write a nonfiction book about the murder of 4 University of Idaho students last November, which shocked the nation and led to a massive manhunt for the suspected killer, that will likely also be optioned for a docuseries. Key facts. The book will tell the story of the 4 murders, drawing from dozens of exclusive interviews, extensive on-the-ground reporting, court transcripts and attendance at suspect Bryan Kohberger's trial, multiple outlets reported. The book doesn't have a title or release date yet and will be published by Little Brown & Company, Patterson's usual publisher. Skydance Television is planning to option the rights to the book for a docuseries based on Patterson and Ward's investigation, Deadline reported. Patterson said he's as caught up in the murders as anyone else and sees telling the story as a compelling challenge that he and Ward are eager to investigate further. Deadline reported that Patterson said he hasn't been haunted by a story like this since he wrote Filthy Rich about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes in 2016. Key background. On November 13, 2022, Ethan Chapin, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle and Madison Mogan, all students at the University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho, were stabbed to death in an off-campus home. The murders sent shockwaves through the college town that reverberated around the country as police struggled to identify a suspect or motive, leading some students to not return to campus to finish the semester. More than a month after the murders, Bryan Kohberger, a PhD student in the University of Washington's criminal justice program, was arrested in Pennsylvania and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and burglary for allegedly breaking into the home and killing the students. The motive for the killings remains unknown. Newspeg. Kohberger was indicted by an Idaho grand jury earlier this week. Prosecutors were not expected to take the case before a grand jury, but the panel's indictment allows them to cancel the preliminary hearing that was scheduled for late June. The indictment paves the way for Kohberger's highly anticipated trial. He is expected to appear in court Monday for his arraignment and to enter his plea. Shortly after being arrested in late December, Kohberger said through a public defender that he expects to be exonerated. Tangent. Patterson has written more than 200 books and is widely recognized as the world's best-selling author. He was named America's highest-paid author in 2020 by Forbes, selling almost 5 million books in the U.S. between June 2019 and June 2020. Patterson began his career writing novels but later expanded to writing nonfiction, too. He's worked with a number of notable co-authors in both his fiction and nonfiction works, including former President Bill Clinton and music star Dolly Parton. His most recent book, The 23rd Midnight, became an instant New York Times bestseller, while Patterson has 5 more books set to publish later this year.
I like James Patterson books. Have you ever read a James Patterson book? Very good. He's a very, very, very talented author, and he plans to write a book about Kohberger and the Moscow, Idaho tragedy. Will you get a copy of the book if he writes it? Will you see it? Will you buy it online? It'll probably be sold online. When will it come out? Will the book come out before the trial happens, if there's a trial? We all keep saying the word trial for Bryan Kohberger. He might not even go to trial. Remember that, people. But let's talk about James Patterson's book. I plan to get it. I plan to get a copy. I enjoyed reading his books over the years. Very thorough writer. What's your thoughts? Subscribe to my channel, hit the notification button. James Patterson, the famous James Patterson, the author and writer. I think he's better than Stephen King. I do. He's writing a book about this tragedy. We'll talk soon. Stay tuned.